welcome to CX Today. I'm Susie Harrison, Senior Content Editor, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Yates, who is VP Engineering at MaxContact. So welcome, Matt, and thank you for joining me.
Hi, Susie. Thank you for having me.
So we're going to be talking about data today, primarily. And we know that the amount of data generated globally each year is quite startling. I think in a recent talk, you noted it surpasses the number of grains of sand on all the world's beaches, which is a nice way to envisage it. And obviously that data represents a huge opportunity for contact centres. What are your top tips for companies faced with harnessing this level of available insight?
Sure. Well, like I say, there's lots of data in the world and certainly within contact centres. And I think in order to really harness the power of that data, it's first important to understand what your objectives are. So rather than kind of just try and jump in and comprehend all this data, actually take a few minutes to take a step back and have a think about, okay, as a company, and it very much depends on your role, of course, but we're talking about leadership in a contact center company, then very much, what are your business goals? So what is your vision? What are your business objectives? What's your strategy for achieving those objectives over the next, whether it's 3, 6, 9, 12, 24 months, however long that period may be, and then start to understand how the data fits into that strategy, and start to seek opportunities where the data can provide insights first and foremost, and then as we progress further down the data insights, what automation opportunities it can provide, and really how it can best support your business. So I think in summary, define your business objectives and then look at the data you have available to start to make sense of the data and provide those actionable insights.
So you've mentioned opportunities there. What do you see as the key opportunities and challenges from having all this data available?
I think it's very easy for us, as leaders, just to think about ourselves when it comes to data, and just to think about data as for management. Well, actually, certainly in the contact center, data can be harnessed for any single role within the contact center. So it could be used, yes, for leaders to provide, strategic business insights and to aid with data-driven decision making. But it also can be used by, the team leads who are responsible for a team. It can be used by the agents themselves on the front line. And that's really, again, where you need to start to understand what your goals are. So, for example, in a customer service focused contact center, where your agents are dealing with, probably lots of inbound inquiries, potentially across quite a broad range of topics, then yes, we invest in contact centers in skilling up new starters, and we have, fairly comprehensive onboarding plans and schemes. But the nature of a lot of businesses is that the knowledge is ever changing. And so having a really good knowledge base, for example, for those internal staff to tap into and to be able to really support their ongoing learning on the job, but most importantly, be able to provide a really great customer experience to their end users, their customers, needs the data in that knowledge base to be in good order. So I think identify the opportunity / pain point. In this case, we're talking about the agents, and for the agents, the knowledge base. Invest time in making sure that that is up to date and that it is maintained. And I think, once you've got that baseline level of quality data in a knowledge base, for example, the agents can access it via traditional means. So it might be available via an internal intranet or a wiki, for example. But, with the technology that we have today, we can start to provide richer interaction experiences with that knowledge. So, for example, with the agents, what you could do is, put a chatbot in front of it. So an internal chatbot. I was reading just the other day about Vodafone, obviously a very large company, and they recently launched an internal chatbot they referred to as a super agent. And this super agent provides the human agents with the ability to ask questions of a chatbot, and it retrieves information from their very rich, well-curated knowledge base. And so I think that's a possible scenario where you can start to see, in terms of opportunities, the evolution of get your data in good order for the specific use case, in this case, knowledge base for agents to support their learning and provide customer experience. But then very quickly you start to then explore, well, actually, can we improve beyond that? And so the opportunity then is, oh yes, we could incorporate a chatbot. And then beyond that, you're then paving the way, having curated that really good knowledge-based data set, you're then paving the way for an even richer experience, say 2-3 steps down the line, for example, where like we're on a call now, we could be on a call and we could have a real-time transcription service transcribing our conversation, and based upon the context that you're sharing with me, imagine I was the agent and you're the customer, based upon the context that you're sharing with me, we could be providing the agent with next best actions. So based upon this conversation being about data, we could be retrieving relevant content related to data-driven decision making from our database and providing it to me, the agent on screen, to help me better answer the questions that you're fielding to me, Susie. So that's, I guess, one example of the agent-based scenario. And then, of course, we're pretty well versed in the opportunities for data-driven decision making at a management and a leadership level with analytics and such like. And I'll pause there for a minute because I'm sure you might have a question or two.
So do you have, it sounds like the knowledge base is really important to you. When you're trying to implement clear data-driven decision making within businesses, do you have some top recommendations for that?
So in terms of top recommendations, I would say I'm a big believer in keep it simple. So don't try and boil the ocean. Start with, okay, what is our biggest business problem / opportunity today? What is it that we want to focus on and improve from where we are today? And so I think once you've made that decision, and again, in a customer service environment, let's stick with that scenario, it could be CSAT scores. So let's say we want to increase our CSAT scores. So we are the brand leader within our sector. And to do that, you want to then start to understand, well, what is it that contributes to those CSAT scores? And then you start to think about the data that you have available within your environment, within your contact center, and you can start to then collate that relevant data and start to mine that information for insights which can help drive improved CSAT scores. And I always like to kind of talk in terms of real world examples here. So let's assume our goal is to increase CSAT scores. And so what we probably do is look to see, okay, well, what is it that the customers that are scoring us relatively low, what are their main concerns? It's about forming hypotheses. You almost have to think about this when it comes to data relatively scientifically. I'm no scientist, I admit that, but when it comes to data, I think having a mindset of come up with a hypothesis, so an idea that you can either prove or disprove with the data. And as business leaders, we typically have very good insight into what's happening across our company, and certainly within our teams and departments. And so I've probably got a reasonable understanding as a contact center leader as to what's driving that CSAT and what might be driving some of those negative CSAT scores. And I can then start to actually look at the data and start to elicit that insight as to what's happening in reality, and then put experiments in place. And again, the tip here would be to start small. So if I have in my contact center 4 or 5 teams, I would advocate starting small and just running that experiment within one team. Prove out that hypothesis about whether the idea to improve CSAT scores does hold true. And if it does, then train out the other teams with that behavior or that skill set that we've just enabled within the one team. And so, yeah, I think keeping it simple, because it's very easy to try and do too much. I've seen we've done it ourselves. We've been guilty here at MaxContact, I have to say, of trying to come up with too many objectives, and through not having clear focus means that you do an okay job at everything and not a brilliant job at just 1 or 2 key initiatives. So that would be the the key opportunity and advice for myself. Really, keep it simple, focus on one thing, and experiment, and embed that continuous improvement mindset. Where we want to be able to fail fast ultimately and learn. Nobody's got all the answers. We need to try things and prove it works or it doesn't work and learn from it.
And I think we can't ignore the impacts of AI here. How is AI changing how data is captured and also the level of detail that's provided? And are you seeing any other impacts more generally of AI on the contact center?
Yes, so I think we've all been very used to analytics, whether that's Excel-based charts to make sense of data, whether it's Power BI or Tableau or another reporting tool. We've become very well versed over the last 20 years in using these tools to elicit insights. The big step forward that machine learning and artificial intelligence gives us is it can do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. So these models that are available now, whether it's feeding information into ChatGPT to find a response and find out useful information, or you've got an in-house model that you might be running to run analysis against. These models are very adept at processing huge amounts of data that you or I, it would take us weeks, months, years to be able to perform the same level of analysis. And so I think I'd definitely encourage you, if you're not doing so already, to start to experiment with some of the AI models out there. Start to actually see what types of insights they elicit. And of course, all the big players are on board with this as well. So, if you're using Microsoft Office 365, then they're offering Copilot. Again, we use it internally here at MaxContact, and that's great for even things as simple as getting summaries from meetings, picking up actions from meetings, so you don't need a scribe in a meeting anymore. And what you can now do within Copilot and other tools that are available as well, of course, is you can start to actually ask questions of the data that you have access to. Within your own organization, what you can do is you can then start to ask questions of the data that Copilot has access to. And within a contact center, what you might typically have, if you think about the wealth of the data that you have available via all those emails, web chats, online interactions, SMS messages, and voice recordings, there's a huge amount of data that until fairly recently we've not really tapped into the value of.
Great. Well, thank you so much. You've shared lots of insights for us today, and it's been a really interesting conversation. So thanks, Matt, for joining us.
No, it's my absolute pleasure, Susie. Good to talk to you as always.
And thank you to our viewers for watching. If you enjoyed this, then please do like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, stay tuned on cxtoday.com for more stories like these. So thank you for joining us.